experience of having 8 years at the elite level of fighting, it's like, how do you get the best results possible and minimize the amount of fatigue? As strong, as fit, as powerful as they can for their fights. So it's when you get the combination of the two that you actually end up getting a fighter that can go on to elite level. Definitely struggle to switch off, but I think naturally I'm a bit of a people's pleaser. One of my worst qualities was being open and vulnerable.
Do you speak to your male friends about mental health?
No.
Are you up for a challenge?
Go on, yeah, I'm always up for a challenge.
Are you willing to text one of them right now? In this episode, I sat down with Reiss Silva, a strength and conditioning coach for combat sport athletes. We spoke about why strength and conditioning is important for combat sport athletes and where most combat sport athletes go wrong. My favourite part is where I challenge Reiss to reach out to his best friend and ask him about mental health, something he's never done before. All I'm going to say is don't miss it. What is strength and conditioning?
So essentially, in its shortest form, is getting the fighters that I work with as strong, as fit, as powerful as they can for their fights. So I always explain to the guys that I'm working with, like, my only job is to make sure that you maximize your talent. So whatever your ceiling is skill-wise, whether that's world level, European level, British level, regional level, local level even, you're just going to maximize that, and you're never going to not reach your full potential because you weren't strong enough or fit enough. That's essentially what I do. Make sure that they, at the end of their career, look back and say, do you know what? I got as far as I could. And not look back and think, if only I was a little bit stronger, only got a little bit fitter, if only I ate a little bit better. So yeah, that's essentially what I do, is make sure that they're physically and mentally in the best place they can be to go and fight.
And there's hundreds of coaches online nowadays, some that are quite questionable and some that are more official. Who am I to judge? But what makes you stand out?
It's a good question. And when I was I had my reservations moving online because I'd built up such a good, authority, such a good stable of fighters working in person. But then I was at a crossroads with, am I building my life around what the business is, or do I want to build the business around the life I want? And I wanted to build the business around the life I wanted to live. So I guess like my experience of having 8 years at the elite level of fighting is one thing. And two, actually specializing in the online space, in that I'm not just a in-person coach who offers some online programming. It's one of the, if not the most in-depth program where we'll cover everything from your strength conditioning to your nutrition to your recovery. You know, we're doing live trainings once a week. We're having group calls. We're teaching them everything. Alongside their sessions, they also get access to our training hub where there's literally a year's worth of video which takes them through the whole process of how to become an elite level athlete from their nutrition, training, recovery standpoint. So it's not just here's your program, go follow it on an app with the videos and we'll check in once a week. It's literally guiding them through the process of where they are to become an elite level athlete. And I think that's the difference. So when you take that sort of in-depth program and put it with my experience of working with elite level fighters, it's then offering them world-class performance, S&C coaching, wherever they are in the world. And I think that's the two things that makes me stand out, is the experience and the program, the way that I've put it together.
How important is strength and conditioning for athletes?
Really, really important. Like, it's always funny when I say this because I always downplay it a little bit in terms of their sport's always going to be the most important thing, because at the end of the day, when they're in a fight, probably in the regional, local level, the opposite applies. You can just be stronger or fitter and win a fight. But as you get to the higher levels, it's the skills that wins a fight. No one's ever going to be a world champion by being an average fighter. So the skills is always the most important thing. I'd always say 80%. But when you combine the skills with physical strength, explosiveness, power, and conditioning, that's how you get an elite level fighter. Because you can be, and there's plenty of examples of this where you get a really skillful fighter, but in the second half of the fight, they fall off a little bit because their conditioning's not the best, or they're not got enough snap in their punches that someone walks them down. Vice versa, you can get a really strong and fit fighter whose jab wasn't good enough or whose combinations weren't good enough. So it's when you get the combination of the two that you actually end up getting a fighter that can go on to elite level.
Just like covering all bases.
Absolutely, yeah. Just filling the gaps in terms of where they're weak and making sure that whatever they need to express their skills over the duration they have. They don't have to be thinking, oh, I need to take a round off here because my gas tank's a bit low, I'm not fit enough, or oh, my legs are a bit heavy now, I need to slow down, or I've not got the power to hold this guy off, so I need to do X, Y, and Z. It's just knowing that you can do whatever you need to do from a technical standpoint, and you've got the physical capabilities to do that.
From your experience working with combat sport athletes, whether boxers or MMA fighters, what's something you find that people typically get wrong in the space you cover, strength and conditioning, nutrition, sleep, whatever it is?
I'd say, and there's a lot of coaches now, like online coaching's got popular anyway, but fighting sports or combat sports has become very popular for coaches to get into. So you see a lot of coaches online who, for example, be transformation bodybuilding type coaches, but then also specialize in fighting sports, and they don't really, but they tend to then put their fighters through bodybuilding sessions and CrossFit type style sessions, fighters doing high rocks or circuit style stuff, essentially just training hard, right? That's what their strength conditioning comes. It becomes about a hard session, but hard sessions don't necessarily equal productive, right? I think a lot of people would be surprised if they looked at my programming and went through a session. It'd probably be a little bit like, oh, that wasn't that hard. But I think that's the beauty of good coaching, is that you can put your athlete through a session that would typically not be that hard, and yet when over a 12-week period you're looking at the numbers, you're like, whoa, they've got that up by 10%, that up by 10%, that up by 10%, in a sport where people are looking to add 1%. Like, we're getting 10% improvements camp on camp on camp, when fighters at the elite level are looking at 1% improvement. So, which is just crazy. So I'd say working too hard, because it looks good for the Instagram and social, and fighters like to work hard, so they feel like they're doing the right thing by, absolutely killing themselves. But it's just counterintuitive. It's not actually benefiting them long term. And by working hard and training hard, they're not doing anything special, because all fighters train hard. It's just a given, right? That's a beautiful thing about fighters, that they do just fight and they want to train hard, but you're not doing anything special by training hard. So actually, from an S&C standpoint, you need to be training hard, of course, in the right times, but training a little bit smarter. And it's like, how do you get the best results possible and minimize the amount of fatigue? That's like the sweet line. And yeah, you could get them stronger and fitter, but if you go over that threshold, then you're taking away from their sparring, their wrestling, jiu-jitsu, whatever session they have, and therefore you're limiting their improvements as a fighter, which is the number one thing of where they're going to go in the sport. So it's that fine balance, I would say. So yeah, kind of in answer to your question, I'd say the biggest mistake is training too hard, I would say.
Yeah, I can envision just that fighter's mindset of going hard every day, training hard. But like you say, if they're not doing the right exercises that are going to benefit them, if they're training like a bodybuilder, which we will speak about a bit later on, I can imagine, and it makes sense that they're not getting the gains that they want, and in fact they're just fatiguing and not showing up as the best version of themselves. But if they're not educated, they can look back and go, but I trained really hard, I did everything. Whereas when they work with someone they know who knows what they're doing, and actually you can tailor their program and put a right structure there, and then benefits must be.
And that's what you've said there is literally the number one message I get on Instagram, where a lot of my business comes through Instagram. That will be the number one thing they say. We're like, okay, so what are you struggling with? Well, I'm doing this. you know, and essentially what they round it up to is I'm working really hard, I'm doing the sessions, but I've just not seen any progress. That is literally probably the number one people say. And then when they're in the program, so with the app we use, they can rate it out of 10 how hard the session was overall, just so we can kind of gauge it. A lot of the time they'll start off putting like 3 out of 10, 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. They're like, oh, that was really easy, like, should I do more? I'm like, nope, trust the process. And a month later they're like, oh, I'm feeling amazing. And it's a little bit to do with the training itself, but it's also a bit more to do with that they're actually able to recover from the training, and now they're going into sessions fully recovered as opposed to 70%, and so they're getting more from those sessions, and therefore they're getting better results.
How hard is that to get them to trust the process?
So it's, I mean, with the guys that I've been with, like I've been fortunate in that a lot of my clients have been with me for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, which is great. It's more so, I guess, for the newer guys. The younger ones as well tend to be a bit more open to it, the amateur level fighters. But I find the pros and the higher level guys are the ones where you need to get buy-in more, because they're the expert in boxing or MMA, right? So they're kind of looking at you like, well, I know more about boxing than you do, which is fair. And S&C, those kind of guys see it as I kind of need to do this. I don't really want to, but I need to. So you have to get buy-in with those guys. And, you know, unfortunately, if you get it wrong initially, and let's say, for example, you have them doing a session, they got sparring the next day, and they spar really bad, it may not be anything to do with your S&C, but they're going to blame the S&C, and they will think like, oh, you made me do that, it was a bit too much, and now I sparred rubbish. Like, you can't do that. And the trust is broken. So it is important to get it right. But it's just, yeah, getting the quick wins, finding ways where you can initially just get like, within the first 30 days, if within the first 2 weeks if you can, but definitely in the first month, getting them in a place where they've noticed 2 or 3 things that they've done well, and they're seeing a really big difference, because then they'll be bought into the process. And then it's kind of like, oh, well, I've only done these 2-3 things and I'm feeling great. Imagine what it's going to be like next month and the month after. So what I always try and do is, what we do when they join the program is their first 10 days is mapped out with what I want them to do. And it's typically just a couple of things based on their assessments. Then the next 10 days, a couple of things. Then the next 10 days, a couple of things. So over the first month, they've done 6 to 9 things that are really small, but have a big kind of benefit to them. And then when they combine all those over the first 30 days, they're like, whoa, I don't even feel like I've changed anything, and I feel amazing. And then they tend to be bought into the rest of the process then.
Yeah. I guess you could, you probably do use testimonials, or connect your newer clients with the older ones and say, look, we've been doing it, trust the process. I know you're thinking right now like, nah, this can't work, this is going to ruin. But I mean, social proof, using that evidence of it's worked with these fighters, it's I trust my program and I know what I'm talking about. But don't let me tell you it, let the guys I work with tell you.
100%. And that's been even more important online, because some fighters do still have the reservations about online, because people assume like, I need my coach in person, I need them with me for motivation, for X, Y, and Z. So previously, when I was in person, just showing who I worked with was kind of enough to get people to want to work with me in person. Whereas now I need to be a bit more savvy with it, and I need to get testimonials or people who say that, oh, actually online was way better than the coach I had in person because of X, Y, and Z. So I do have to use social proof, and I've got a lot better of it recently, where you do have to use it, because otherwise there's still that question mark over, does online really work? Because I think people just assume as well, like I did when I joined online, to be honest. I didn't know the scale of it and the business side of it and what the layout should be. They assume it's that you just get given your program on some sort of app, and maybe you drop me a message once a week, and they're like, what, I'm paying X amount for that? That's crazy. But so you do need the testimonials to actually say, like, someone to sit there and be like, I've been where you are. I thought it was expensive, it wasn't. I thought it'd be this, it wasn't. I thought in person was better, it wasn't. And then when you use that, people do go, okay, so I've followed this guy for a while, I've seen who he's worked with, I've seen what he does, I like his content, I've tried some of his free stuff, which has been good, and now there's these testimonials from people who have gone through that online process and said it's really good, probably should give it a go. So yeah, but it's huge. Social proof is yeah, it's huge, isn't it? It's huge. Like your biggest kind of business, I guess, is going to come from, like, as a business, we're always looking at how do we get more clients, how do we get more customers, but actually your biggest scale and is to, one, keep your retain them. Like, if you can retain a client for 12 months instead of 6, you just doubled your business. And if you can then do such a good job that they want to go and tell other fighters that you need to come and train with this guy, you don't even have to really market that much. And that will always be the biggest way of growing your business, just doing and getting great results for your current clients. But of course, the social proof is always big, because you need new eyes on the business and get the sort of the intrigue and the buy-in from people who aren't necessarily ready to buy yet.
Yeah, for sure. Before we move on to the fun part, I've introduced a new segment into the podcast, which is basically a struggling segment, if you like. So I'm going to go first, but I'm going to share with the audience something either you struggle with now or something you've previously struggled with.
Like this.
And the reason is because of social media. We look at everyone, the highlight reels, everyone looks like they're doing great. Everyone looks like they're fine. So I just wanted to introduce something that's a bit more real and say, actually, yeah, I've got the business, I've got this, but actually there's still things I struggle with. I just think that is important.
Really important.
So first, I'll go first. Something I'm struggling with currently is people not supporting me online, and that is probably my interpretation of what support looks like when I'm putting the content out, when I'm doing good things and whatever it might be, and people are not supporting it. People I'd expect to support it. So I'm kind of navigating that at the minute, and I know, I've reflected on it, and I understand that people might not even see the content. People might be sharing content that I have no idea about, and I'm really trying to focus on the people that are showing up for me and supporting me, rather than those that are not.
That's a good one, because that is such a big thing, isn't it? Like, that really annoys me, because sometimes I'm like, you motherfucker, you're just sharing flipping Kanye West posts about his trainers, and you can't share me looking for 2 more clients. So like, but you're so right though, because it's our interpretation, right? They might not see it, they might not think it's actually helping. Maybe they don't know how much it would mean to share it. Maybe you haven't asked them to share it.
Shout out to everyone watching this. No, for sure. I'd appreciate anyone sharing the content. I believe in what I'm doing, and because
it's interesting, because I was exactly the same, and I done a mentorship, and when I was looking for clients, I was like, he's like, people are going to share it and you'll get new followers. I'm like, yeah, but no one's sharing it. It's really annoying. And my mentor just said to me, he's like, have you asked all your clients if they can just share it? I'm like, no. Like, if they see it, they'll share it if they want to, surely. They were like, he was just like, no. Like, when was the last time you shared something? And I was like, actually, I don't know. He's like, do you support that person? Yeah. Do you want them to do well? Yeah. If they asked you to share it, would you share it? Yeah. Why didn't you? I was just like, they didn't ask. He's like, well then, go and ask. Lo and behold, I just said to my clients, I was like, hey guys, I'm looking for 2 free clients. I'm putting this post out at 7 o'clock tonight. Would you mind just sharing and tagging me in it and just sort of putting a couple of lines about how it's been coaching with me? Yeah. They all shared it, like 25, 30 shares. I think one of them didn't share, but it's because he was on holiday and his WhatsApp didn't send. So, yeah. It is our interpretation, isn't it? It's like our expectations. We expect this, and not only do we expect this, we expect it done this way at this time. Whereas there's so many variables, like people might see it and be on the tube home, and then they lock their phone and go and then completely forget. Like, there's so many variables, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm trying not to get caught up in it, and that's why I said I'm trying to really focus on the people that do support me and try not to take it personally when others don't.
Would you ask? Or have you asked?
I wouldn't.
Why not?
It depends. I think your post is quite niche, where you post in for a reason. You're looking for clients, and people know that sharing that is gonna help you get them clients, whereas I'm posting content. I guess I'm raising awareness, raising money for good causes. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. It's something I can think about.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The old expectations kind of. That's what I've actually realised. A lot of conflict is just different of expectations, isn't it?
Yeah, and I know I've learned the hard way of unspoken expectations never get met, and I guess that is a bit of a version of that. But yeah, that's what I'm currently struggling with.
I'm trying to think of mine, and not because I'm not struggling with it, because I'm struggling with so much. I would say my biggest struggle right now is that I definitely struggle to switch off and have boundaries. I would say boundaries is a big one for me, which I'm getting better at, but I definitely struggle with boundaries in terms of my life setup. So when I start work, finish work, then chill time, social time, and a lot through the years it's kind of been mixing and blurring the lines. So I might finish work and be out with my girlfriend for a coffee, but I'll be like, oh, while we're chilling for an hour, I'm going to do some work on my phone. And then go home and it's like, well, the hour that we should have been us catching up and I've been working again. It was very much blurred. So I'm a lot better with it now, but I'd say definitely the boundaries of work and not working was something I struggled with. And then also boundaries in terms of people. So clients, for example, replying at X whatever time just because I normally do, or your payment's due on this date. Oh, I've not paid it and it's a week later or 2 weeks later and I'm having to chase them up. Should be more stern on that kind of thing as well, which I'm getting better at for sure. But I think naturally I'm a bit of a people's pleaser. And so it's very easy for me to kind of, oh yeah, it's fine, pay it next week, it's absolutely fine. Where I should be more, this is, again, it goes back to expectations, I think. I expect you to complete your check-in at this time because I do feedback on this day and I don't want you sending it day after because it messes up my week. I should say that, this is the expectation. Payment should be due on this day of the month. If it isn't, I'll have to remove access from the app until it's paid.
Do you pay your rent on time? Do you pay your phone bill on time?
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I understand, and I probably could relate more to that in the past. I know other people who struggle with it. I've got a good book for you actually about that. So
which one?
If you read, it's called Set Boundaries Find. I think it's Set Boundaries Find Peace. Nice. Has a book title. It sounds a bit. Yeah. But that's what book titles are, right? But something I've definitely took a lot of value from, and I like rereading good books.
What's the best book you've read, would you say, for like self-development? Put you on the spot.
For self-development?
Well, actually, no, just in general, actually, I'd say. What's it like, as in you're learning something at some kind, whether it's self-development, business?
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Classic.
One of my
That's heavy though, isn't it?
I did audio version.
Okay.
I got a lot of value from that, and when I say best book I've read, I'm talking about the value I got from it. That's up there. Atomic Habits, when I was first starting my journey. I think everyone's read that. And then other books which I'd kind of not I won't say the self-development. The Body Keeps a Score. And I'd say either Set Boundaries, Find Peace, or I forgot what the other one's called, but it's by a former psychologist. Great book. I'm going to put them all on screen for anyone who's interested, but I'd say they're the standouts for me right now.
I think two come to my mind. One is Green Lights from Matthew McConaughey. Have you read it?
No, I've.
God.
I laugh because I've got this big list of books and I've gone off reading for a while, but it's on there. So
audio version. So the audio book is amazing because he narrates it and he's great at storytelling. But I loved it just because it's obviously his life story. It's about how he's 35 and he's still not done anything, and it's just like, oh wow. everyone's got it made by 30. What's he doing? And he sort of talks about that, how he talks about changing from being the stud to going into more serious, and the backlash he got, and how he turned down X amount of money to be a stud again. He was like, nope, I'm out of that. And he turned down a lot of money. And then, yeah, so that whole journey, which I think is really good. And then he talks about the name Green Lights is when he journals, he'll write green light if it's a good day. And over time, if he's going through a bit of a rut, he'll just look back through, when was the last time I had green lights all in a row? Okay, what was I doing then? Oh, I was sleeping 9 hours and I've only been getting 6 for the last month. Let me go back to sleeping 9 hours. And I thought that's a really cool concept. The other one actually, which is really good, and I'd probably say changed my life the most, is How to Own the World, which is a finance book, but from someone who grew up with zero knowledge of paying taxes, savings accounts, what it all means, what's inflation, it's so easy to understand. I listened to the audio version again, but so easy to understand, and just teaches you all the basic stuff about why inflation, like what it actually is and what it means for you, where you should put your money, should you invest in this, how much should you invest in that, it goes through it all. And it's just like, whoa, that's amazing. Because I grew up like, you're never taught any of that stuff, especially being self-employed. You're not taught how much should I put back into the business, what about, should I do a pension? Do I put it in an ISA? Do I invest in crypto? And it just goes through all of it. And it's just, yeah, it's amazing. That book would, I would say, probably like changed my life, or will change my life in the future because of the compounding and interest and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I'll add it to the list. Stop. Please don't tell me you're watching without subscribing. Don't be that guy. Hit that subscribe button to show your support. Back to the episode. On to the fun stuff.
Yes.
I feel like we've had a bit of a semi-serious. I've enjoyed the conversation, but it's quite serious topics, and something I'm trying to do now is just incorporate a little bit of fun.
I like it.
A little bit of less serious stuff.
Let's do it.
So the first kind of, you call it a game? It's basically red or green flag. So I'm going to read.
Okay, yeah.
And it's, we'll say it's coaching, combat sport relevant edition.
Okay.
Just to make it a little bit easier and more specific. So
cool, let's go.
Prioritizing technique.
Green.
Training dehydrated.
Red.
Missing weight regularly.
Red.
Has a structured recovery period.
Green.
No days off mentality.
Red.
Trains like a bodybuilder.
Big red.
Has an online influencer coach.
Ooh.
As a combat sport athlete.
Ooh, red. I'd say red.
Why? Choose one of them. And why?
Ooh. Which one?
Missing weight regularly?
Yeah, let's do that one. Yeah, I'd say that's just obviously a big red flag, because you either can't make that weight class if you're doing everything right and you're obviously taking something out of your performance, or you're doing something or everything completely wrong. So you're going to be in a really bad place either way. And like fighters have got this mindset of they almost glorify the cutting weight process. Like, oh, I cut 8 kilos and I dehydrate. I've seen a lot recently actually on Instagram of fighters putting their videos of, boxing's fun until you need to make weight, and it's glorifying the sweatsuits and sweating it out. And it's a part of the sport, which I completely get, but you shouldn't be glorifying it. Like, I want my weight cuts to not be hard. Like, yeah, you're going to cut X amount of weight, but it shouldn't be hard. Like, to a certain extent, you shouldn't be killing yourself, right? And there is this, and I've done this before when you're fighting, like, it looks cool, like, oh, I've got my sweatsuit on now, I'm making weight, but they do glorify it a little bit. And, the athlete or the fighter that I'm really worried about in terms of if that was my opponent is the one whose weight cut is nice and easy. They're cutting the water weight the last 12 hours where it's all accurate. They're in, they're out. They walk to the scales, they're full of energy still. they rehydrate. That I'm like, holy shit, he's doing things good, as opposed to the one who's like, oh, I hate fight week. I'm not eating all week. I'm not eating any carbs. I've got a sweatsuit on all week. I'm training. I'm running every day. Like, if I'm fighting someone like that, or one of my clients is fighting someone like that, it's over before they've even got in there. Like, it is. So yeah, they glorify it, which I don't think you should. And then as well, like, there's making weight, and then there's making weight in a way that you can still refuel and perform the next night. Like, it's not just you make weight and everything's done. You've still got to go and fight 36 hours later. So yeah, you can get on the scale and weigh in and be fine, but how much is that taken away from your performance? Yeah, so I'd say that one, definitely.
What about training dehydrated, which links in with that?
It does,
really
yeah,
good.
it does. And especially on fight week, where people or fighters will wear their sweatsuits and show themselves sweating, and it's like, and they'll say they do that every day of fight week, where it's like, that should only be used the night before you're weighing in. Because one, if you're dehydrating that far out, that's really bad for your health. Really, really bad. Two, it's terrible for your performance, because you're not going to be able to then rehydrate as much. And we're talking about brain health as well, right? Hydrating around the brain, which is, if you're taking punches, really bad for health. But also because, if you're sweating it out and you're not dehydrating, it means you're just drinking it. You're putting it back in, so it's pointless. Like, you don't need to be doing it. The only time you should be, sweating it out to dehydrate is literally 8 p.m. at night, the night before you're weighing in. You want that window to be as small as possible. Sometimes we even leave it to the morning. Most of the time we'll leave the last little bit to the morning, so maybe like they're weighing in at 9 a.m. they're doing that last little bit, so it's literally an hour and a half where they're in a dehydrated state. But again, I don't know why. I think it's just because it's the way, it's because it's unique. Like fighters like to glorify the sweating it out and make it seem like it's something really cool and stuff, but actually it's much cooler to get your weight cut right, so you're only doing that for the last couple of hours and then weighing in and you're good to go.
Training like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, this one you see so much, don't you? So much. And like, I get it to a certain extent. Like, if you're a fighter who knows you should be going to the gym, it's what you kind of...
Default.
Yeah, it's default. That's how I started going to the gym. Went to the gym, chest day, back day, arm day, all that kind of stuff. It's easy. You can use the machines, 3 sets of 12, and you'll get some results, because if you're new and then you go start lifting weights, you're going to get stronger, a little bit bigger or whatever. But it's just not quote unquote or functional. There's a lot that goes into fighting performance, and doing body part splits is not the most optimal way. It's probably going to leave you very sore as well. Obviously, if you're tight at the weight, you need to be careful of muscle mass and things like that as well. So yeah, it's a good way to get into the gym if you've never done anything, but there are way, way, way better ways of training. And like, if you do need to bulk up or add muscle mass, then there's parts of your session which might be, a couple of sets are going to failure, but it shouldn't be your whole session.
Glad we cleared that up. That's going to be useful to a lot of people, I know it is. Next kind of segment is overrated or underrated.
Okay.
So same process but different things. Visualization.
Very, very, very underrated.
Ice baths.
Ooh. I like them, but I'm going to say overrated.
Fasted cardio.
Oh, these are tricky ones. So I'm trying to answer it based on like...
We'll dive into the details
okay, so
afterwards.
I'm going to go fasted cardio, underrated.
Periodization. Whether that's training or nutrition.
I'm going to go overrated, which could be controversial.
Neck training.
Overrated.
Hard sparring.
Overrated.
BCAs.
Overrated.
Sleep for recovery.
Underrated.
Fitness watches.
Underrated.
Which ones do you want to dive into?
Cool,
Because I understand that it's hard to give a blanket answer, because
Yeah.
some things are...
So the ones that really got me caught out there, which ones were they? The last one did, the fitness watches. Periodization as well.
Fasted cardio.
Fasted cardio and maybe neck training as well. We'll run through. So the first one, the bottom one was, what was it again? Fitness watches. I went underrated because I think having data is really important. So if you can track your sleep, you can track your recovery, stress, resting heart rate variability, I think that's really good data to have. And they're kind of seen as more of like a general population thing. But I think stuff like the Whoop Band now, which is very athlete targeted, is really good. So if you can, you take it with a pinch of salt, but just having that data versus not having it, especially at a higher level, I think can be really, really good. The fasted cardio, I went for underrated on the basis of that. If you use it correctly in terms of using fat as a fuel, it can be really, really good. So, I mean, this is very simplified, so I don't want anyone coming at me. But essentially, if you train fasted when you're doing your low intensity stuff in the morning, recovery run, technical work, you can improve sort of like the utilization of fat as a fuel source. So instead of using carbohydrates at rest, you'll use more fats, which is great because as you go through a longer fight, it means in theory you can reserve your carbohydrate stores for the later rounds as opposed to using your petrol up early. So that's why I went for underrated on that one. Periodization, I went for overrated, which might sound a bit weird, but the reason being is because I think in the nature of a combat sports athlete, nothing goes to plan. Nothing goes to plan. So you can plan it all out and say you're doing this block into this block into this block. In reality, people get injured, fight dates change, they're feeling fatigued one day, they're feeling great another day. So it's very much adjusting as you go, which is why I think it could be slightly overrated. And like you can have a deload week, or you could go from block to block, but now the fight's changed and you're having a deload week when the athlete feels amazing, or you got a deload week in 2 weeks, but the athlete is feeling terrible at the moment. So I think in that aspect, it's probably a little bit overrated. And then the last one was, what did I say? Neck training. And I said overrated simply because I was always someone who was like, read all the studies and, training your neck can reduce concussion by 5% and da-da-da-da-da. The more I kind of think about it and I look into it, it's like, if you get caught by a shot that knocks you out, it's very rarely the ones you see coming. So when you get to stiffen up, you're good. So your neck strength plays a part, right? When you get caught by normally a punch that knocks you out is one you don't see coming. That's more of a counter punch, those kind of things. You don't have time to even use your neck muscles or contract. So it's kind of irrelevant on how strong your neck is, I found anyway. And that might go against what a lot of S&C coaches kind of think. But yeah, I think, if you're going to get knocked out by a shot, it's going to knock you out regardless of your neck strength. And look, we do train the neck still, but I just don't put as much emphasis on it as I used to.
Cool. Glad you cleared that up. 100 men or one gorilla?
It's weird how these things get so like, where does this even come from? But the gorilla 100%. Like, have you seen The Average Man lately? Like, yeah, the gorilla, 100%. I don't think it's even close.
No doubt.
I don't think it's even close. I think probably what happens is the first, 10 guys go in and just get obliterated and everyone else thinks nope and probably runs off. Yeah. I don't think it's even close.
It's crazy how it's blown up so much.
Oh, it's
we've
funny.
got like animal experts weighing in on it and stuff, and it's like,
it's so funny. It's like, yeah, social media's got a lot of downsides, but it's great in other areas, isn't it? Like, I do love social media, I must admit.
Top 5 UFC fighters right now?
Oh, top 5. This is a tricky question. So I'm going to say
Can you say your top 5 favourite?
Yeah, I'm going to say my favourites just in general. So I'm a big Max Holloway fan.
His last fight.
Yeah, I know, which is heartbreaking for me. Yeah. Heartbreaking, but I just love his attitude, his fights he's in. I'm a big fan of Poirier, just because I like his journey more
Like
than
his
anything.
values as
Yeah, like he seems like a nice guy, and he obviously had the period where he wasn't quite reaching the number one spot, 2 or 3 fights there, and then he just keeps coming back. He's obviously very robust. I love Izzy Adesanya. Just love his aura more than anything. I love his showmanship. Again, I mean, you get this a lot in the UFC where a fighter's at the highest level and then they drop off a little bit, which has obviously happened in his last couple of fights. I love Volk. I think Volk's good. He just an animal, just game. They were probably the top, what was that, 4, I'd say, of who I enjoy watching from, like, as a fan, without getting too much on who's actually the best fighter. They're probably not, well, their last fights would probably prove they're not the best fighters. But and this is part of, like, the business of fighting, right? You can be the best fighter. Let's take, like, a Khabib, who is really good, but he's boring to watch as a fan, right? And so part of the business, and which is why I love MMA as well, is because if you're an exciting fighter, take risks, you're obviously very good, you can build your brand up to a level to get paid very well and get opportunities. And boxing's coming a little bit more like that now as well, where it always used to be about protect your zero and don't lose. But I think part of being a good fighter now is going to be, are you in exciting fights? Are you willing to fight the best? You can get some amazing careers now where it's not just about winning belts or winning as many fights, but just, are you in great fights? And I think those guys, for me, like in terms of showmanship, which is a big part of it, fighting guys, taking risks, coming back from losing, I think that each of them typifies one of those areas as well.
It's like in Eubank and Ben.
Yeah.
When you see a good fight, whether that's whatever combat sport that is, and it's exciting, it doesn't matter who loses. I feel like both fighters' stock always goes up.
Yeah, and like people, what I'd love to see more in boxing now is people fighting younger or earlier in their careers, fighting for a British title. Winner goes on to do whatever, other person rebuilds, they can fight again at European title and then fight again at world title. Like, imagine you had 3 great fights between people who, I mean, the one that kind of sticks out when they never had a rematch was George Groves and James DeGale, because they were really good fights. But imagine they fought at British level, European, and then world. That'd be amazing. But it tends to be protected because if they just hold off, keep winning, then they'll fight for a world title and get paid more. But they can get paid 3 times, and the third fight will probably be even bigger than the first one would have been, But it's definitely getting better for sure.
Now, questions about you. Do you have a morning routine?
Yes, I do. And I've been caught in the traps of trying to find a perfect routine before, and read all these books about, oh, you should get up at this time, and then you go and meditate, then you go train, then you do an ice bath, and then like, it's just like that does not work in the real world. So now it's very, very simple. I wake up, dog walk. I keep my phone off, like I don't turn on the Wi-Fi. So I'll get up at 7, which is quite nice now. Dog walk till about 7:30. I'll come in. I read. Just like, I've got like a life mission statement that I just read. It just kind of reaffirms who I want to be.
What is it?
So it's very long, but essentially it's based around 3 things, which is freedom, which essentially just means freedom of travel, freedom of health, and freedom of money. Those 3 things really. And then just experiences. So they're like the things that I want to have in my life. And then it's, now actually I've just flipped it. I then go and train. So I always used to push my training back in the day about 11 o'clock, but I just found I'm much more productive. Go train between 9 and 10, then 10 o'clock start my work day. So it's very simple, literally dog walk, train. That is it. I mean, I do things like I'll have an electrolyte drink just because I'm training, and I won't eat until like 11 just because I train and I'm doing other stuff. But in terms of like morning routines, it's just those 2 things, nice and simple.
I love how simple it is, because with social media you get all the really extra morning routines that, like you say, they're not going to work for you. And I had this conversation yesterday. Do what works for you. It's trial and error, but if you don't like getting up at 5 a.m, don't do it.
Yeah, like I used to be the morning guy. I used to love getting up early, whereas now, like 7 o'clock for me is a nice time. I'm ready to get up. I go to bed at like 9 to read for an hour, so I'm getting a good 9 hours sleep. Yeah, it's just simple because as well, the thing is I can always do that. Even if it's the busiest day in the world, I can take the dog out and quickly get a quick session in. Whereas if I got too much going on and then I can't do it and then I feel out of sync. Whereas I know just keep it nice and simple, and then like alongside taking the dog out and getting some morning light exposure, which helps, and like all that kind of stuff. But the big one for me is just no phone. That's probably the one that makes me feel the best in terms of I turn it off at 7:30 at night when I finish work. Wi-Fi goes off, then I won't put it on till I start work at like 10 o'clock, and that's the biggest one in terms of the impact it has on me.
I rate it. How are you out of 10? You can't say 7.
Can't say 7. So I tell you, this is you'll like this actually. Shout out to my mate Joff who came up with this. So I went into his company to deliver a high performance workshop, and we did the scale of 1 to 10. And he kind of told me about, you should change it to this scale because people always say 7 when they're okay. So it's a -5 to 5 scale, 0 being average. Because on the scale of 1 to 10, 5 is seen as bad, but actually that's average. 6 is actually okay, whereas it's seen as bad as well. So the scale's all off, whereas a -5 to 5, 0 is your average. A 1 would be like okay, and a 5 would be brilliant. -5 would obviously be terrible. And we've started using that, and it's actually a much more accurate scale. But
okay,
on a
new scale.
he'll love this as well. I would say, so using the 10 scale, I would say, how am I? Like 9? Because things can always be better, right? But I'm happy and healthy. Got a roof over my head. Business going good. Like, I think if I was being critical, I could say like a 6 because I could do this. But like, I don't need any of that to happen. Like, as long as I'm healthy and everyone around me is healthy and we're roof over our head and, like I said, freedom of health and experiences, then yeah, I'm good. So I'd say a 9 with a tiny bit to improve on.
Love it. Do you speak to your male friends about mental health?
No.
No.
Not at all.
Why?
Why? So this is something I've been thinking about actually. I'm trying to think. So I do talk to a couple of my friends, I would say, but not my close friends. And I think it's just socialization thing. You've never done it before, so it's weird to talk about, isn't it? But I think as a leader, as I like to see myself as, part of being a leader is showing the things that you want other people to show you. So over the last sort of 5 years, one of my worst qualities was being open and vulnerable. I would just never do it, never show weakness. And that was reflected in relationships because people would never want to show me their weakness or be vulnerable with me, even clients. Because why would they? Because Reiss is that strong person who just, he doesn't want to hear about this stuff. And it's like, oh, yeah, I need to be vulnerable if I want people to be vulnerable with me. So I guess kind of going back to your question of why, it's probably because I haven't ever just brought it up, which I should. Because as a leader, I should create the environment for my closest friends to talk about it. And yeah, it might be awkward. They might be closed book, but again, being a leader, you have to get over that and do it again and again and again until it becomes normal. So yeah, I guess that's my reminder to actually do it.
Are you up for a challenge?
Go on, yeah, I'm always up for a challenge.
Are you willing to text one of them right now? Someone you don't, one of your close friends that you don't speak about things with, just to check in.
Yeah.
So this could be, I'm on this podcast. We've had a conversation about whole load of things, but one specifically was mental health. So I'm just reaching out, just want to check in. However you want to phrase it.
Let's do it.
I want you to show the camera when you're done.
Right, let's do it. I'll text my best mate.
Okay.
I'll text him. So I'll say.
So have you, just to clarify for the camera, you've never spoken to him about this before?
So we've done the typical guy thing, right? Where we both know we've struggled with stuff because, so I actually moved in with him in lockdown, broke up with my girlfriend, had to leave the house. Terrible time, gyms were closed, no money, no savings, no job. And he was like, come and stay with me as long as you need. Like, so great friend. And he probably helped me a lot more than he knows as well. And during that period, obviously, he knew I was going through a tough time. I knew he was going through a tough time, but it was like the unspoken thing, right? It was the unspoken thing. And then you do what all guys do is when you go out for a few beers at the end of the night, it's midnight, you're drunk, you talk about it then.
2 pints deep.
Well, I think about 20 pints deep. But
Stop. Please don't tell me you're watching without subscribing. Don't be that guy. Hit that subscribe button to show your support. Back to the episode.
And we had a brief conversation we was in Hamburg. It was his stag do as well, actually. So we're in Hamburg, it's his stag do. People are off doing whatever. And we were just sat outside. And then you have that 10, 15-minute conversation, which is really deep. And then the next day, it's never mentioned again, which I think is the typical thing that guys do, right? So that's probably the one and only time. And that was a year ago next month. And lockdown was, 5 years ago? So, yeah, which is crazy when you think about it. It's 5 years ago. We've never really spoke about it. And the only other time that I've even mentioned it was during his best man speech at his wedding last year, where I kind of rounded it up by saying, you know, I know you've been through some really hard stuff that no one will really understand, but I'm very proud of you. And that's all that's ever been said. Which when you say it out loud is really bad, isn't it? Like, it's really bad. Yeah, it's terrible, really, isn't it? As a friend, it is terrible. So yeah, this is going to be the only time. So there you go. So I sent one saying, hey mate, I'm on a podcast, we're talking about mental health, and it made me realise I haven't checked in on you on that side of things for a while. How is everything? Go on, I'll let you hold it up. There you go. I like that. I like that. That's good. And it's nice, man. Like, you know, it's all fun and games, but weirdly gamifying makes people do it, right?
That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, and I think it's a great idea. And you know, even, you know, people listening, they can play along as well and do it, which is great. But for me, as the guest who's actually done it, it does make me think, like, just saying it out loud, like, damn, I knew my best mate in the whole world who took me in when I had no money and nowhere to go and didn't put a timeline on it, let me stay for, I think I was there for about 9 months in the end. I knew he was going through a hard time and I never spoke to him about it. And the only time I spoke to it, and he's my best friend, but the only time I feel like I could speak to him is when we're drunk.
How do you feel telling that story?
Shit. It's horrible, isn't it? Like, it makes you feel a bit like, should do better, should do more. Because as well, like, if, God forbid, anything was to happen, you know, people do stuff all the time through bad mental health. How bad would I feel? Like, in a selfish way, like, could I live with the fact that knowing that, I could have done more. I could have had a conversation with him that flipped his mindset. Yeah, which is, so I think even, you know, this whole conversation of today, I think taking that away with me I think I'll definitely take it away with me, and like, just knowing that, okay, as my group, if I am a leader, I need to have those conversations. And yeah, people might be like, oh, Reiss, shut up, we're out having a pub. But that is part of the things you have to go through. Like, forget what people think, have the conversation. Yeah. You're happy because it's working exactly as you visioned.
Exactly. And what I was thinking because I can see the cogs turning and you're like, oh, okay. But I know from speaking to you today that when you reflect and think about something, you can then go and implement it, because that's the mindset you have. So it's great that it's worked and 100%. You're going to go and think about it and do it. And you've also inspired me with you have to be a leader in that space. Because although I speak openly and publicly, I maybe don't check on the people around me as much as I should. So I'm willing to have those conversations So maybe if I start them and have them more frequently, then you are leading in that space.
100%. And I always used to hide behind social media, I think, where I'd do videos about it, mental health, you should do a talk, da 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 da. And it almost in a way made it easier for me to do it. And it ticked a box. I was helping and I was having a conversation. But like you say, in reality, how many conversations we're having with the people that I really care about behind when the camera's not on? And none. Which is crazy. To say that I am a leader, I'm open, vulnerable, but I'm actually not.
Because you're a leader by your actions, not.
Exactly. You don't lead by saying things, you lead by showing, right? And like you say, you might go out of a group, it might not be taken well, people might laugh about it might feel awkward, it might be a forced conversation, but if that's potentially the difference between someone going through a hard time and being like, oh, I feel so much better, to not, then it's a no-brainer.
The thing with that, even if it's annoying to them, when they are going through a tough time and they think of who they can go to, Reiss has been asking us for the last year, how we doing?
Yeah.
Maybe next time he asks me, I can just say, not great.
And it's funny because I'm linking it back to the conversations we had about people doing things, or like health scares, cancer through alcohol. Well, that's not going to happen to me. My mate's going through really bad mental health where they do something terrible. Maybe I'm thinking, oh, that's never going to happen to me. And so I'm not doing the things there, whereas I should, because you don't see it until it happens. There's this path that's being walking on that you don't even see until it hits the bad thing. And we've just sat here and spoke about people thinking health scares, cancer won't happen to them, they're just going to carry on drinking and living a bad lifestyle. Well, kind of hypocritical of me to not have these conversations because I think, oh, it's never going to happen to my friends. Interesting.
I know you're going to take this away with you.
100%.
So.
No, I am 100%. I am.
Who's one person you recommend to have on the podcast? You can give me multiple, but
are we talking anyone or anyone accessible?
Any more so your network?
Yeah,
is
okay.
The people around you that you'd recommend?
There's a couple of people that come to mind. So my girlfriend, her family have got some really cool family friends, like really interesting stories. One of them, he's just written a book. He was chief constable, I want to say, of the Met Police in London. So really high up. And he's just wrote a book about that. And he's, I think he's of Indian background. So it's the whole, coming up in the Met Police force with the racism, being Indian, navigating through that. And he's got some very cool stories from when I've spoken to him, just about life in general, but that particular side. And I'm going to start reading his book next week once I finish mine. So I think that would be really cool. Who would be? I'm trying to think of do you know who would be an amazing guest as well? I used to train Mark Jacasey when I lived in Leeds. UFC fighter from Congo, but just a crazy backstory, like crazy, coming over, not speaking the language, getting in fights every day, living under the gym ring for months and months and months, no money, getting all the way to the UFC, winning his first 3 fights, being potentially touted as the next UFC champion, then losing the next 3 and being told he's useless, to build him, like, it's just, crazy story. So he would be a really, really good person as well. And then I'd say the last one, when you've had some really good conversations with people you could just chat to for ages and you can't quite place them, I would say probably a couple of the other fighters as well. Just really, like you imagine with fighters, got some really tough times that they've been through. Some really cool stories. I think a guy I met recently, Jason, who's building a really good company called Click, he would be good from the standpoint that their whole company is about communities. So it's basically an app which is hosts communities on. It's really, really big. And I think that'd be cool from like the more community, socializing, loneliness type thing as well. So probably those three kind of pop into my mind.
We'll be in touch.
You will, yeah.
We'll be in touch. Last segment, host turned guest, and you've asked me quite a lot of questions already.
Yeah, I've used up my quota.
But do you have a question for me?
I was going to ask if you could go back and change one thing, what thing would it be or not? But I feel like you're going to say you wouldn't because it's all led you to where you are now. So I guess I'll flip it to more to the future. You're on your deathbed. You get to pass on one bit of advice to yourself sat here now, or one bit of wisdom, one thing you done that you want to make sure you do again. What would you want it to be, or what do you think it would be?
Be a great person, dad, husband, cousin, brother. Just be a great person.
Another question, just because it popped into my mind. If you was your worst enemy, what would you be criticizing yourself about? What would you be saying if you was essentially slagging yourself off?
That's a good question.
I'm thinking about my answer.
And
it's hard.
I'm very critical of myself. I'm more critical than anyone could ever be of me. But when I position myself in that scenario, not executing as much as I should, or believe I should. So planning, preparing, but
Procrastinating.
not firing.
I've done that massively, procrastinating just by planning or reading books. For
Motion.
sure. And there's only one thing that really guarantees success, and then that's doing the thing.
Action.
Yeah, I was thinking about my answer to that. It's actually a good question. I really like that. I think I would say probably he's annoying. He's boring. I think probably someone would say that. He's boring. Something along those lines, I think. Probably boring.
I could have said that one, but I love that I'm boring. When people think or call me boring, I love it because the simple things I enjoy now in my life, I love. So if I'm boring for it, I'll wear it proudly.
100%, yeah, I agree. I like that I'm boring and like the simple things, but definitely someone who was hating on me would definitely be like, yeah, he's just boring though.
Love my boring life.
Yeah. It's an interesting question, actually.
Yeah, for sure. Socials, where can people find you?
So Instagram's the best bet. It's Reiss_Silva 11. And yeah, all my everything about me basically is on there. I'm trying to share more of my personal life now as well. It used to be very much just strength and conditioning content and stuff, but I'm trying to bring in a little bit more about just my life, day-to-day stuff that I'm interested in. So I've started putting a lot more about my weekly paddle chocolate, my dog training, which is a big part of my life, the holidays, and the actual behind the scenes of the business. So yeah, it's nice little blend now.
By the way, that's a great idea, the note you have on your phone about the run and the pan of chocolate. And my girlfriend's going to watch this and she's going to be like, we need to do that.
Honestly, have you tried almond pan of chocolates? They are unbelievable. Like, so good. Honestly, they're so good.
I'll be sure to get one and yeah. I'll give you a review. But I just want to say thank you for reaching out, travelling down today and being so open, honest, authentic, and I've really enjoyed the conversation, so just a big thank you.
No, it's been really good. It's been better than I thought it would be as well. And I guess thank you to you, because just the fact that I'm going to probably take away from, well, I definitely am going to take away to reach out to my friends and start those conversations. Like, I'm already thinking about the next time we're all meeting up, that I will, how is everyone? Like, no bullshit now, just for 5 minutes. How is everyone?
My purpose is to make that easier, and I'm planning a lot of good stuff that is going to make it easier. But I love that you've took that away, because it's a social chain. You impact your best mate, he impacts someone else, and there's no limit on that. So I'm grateful.
Pleasure, man. That was awesome, mate.
Mate,
Awesome.
appreciate it.